much for being back. If you just joined us, this is still Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for today. The Senior Special Assistant on Youth Mobilization to the Delta State Governor and Traditional Prime Minister of Obulu Uku, Chief James Asika Nwodi, has urged the Nigerian youth to unite in support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. He stated that national progress is tied to the president's success, emphasizing that wishing Tinubu well equates to wishing the country well. Chief Nwodi called on citizens to rise above political differences and embrace unity, just as Deltans are supporting Governor Sheriff Oborowori. He stressed the importance of prayer and encouragement during challenging times, adding that only through collective support can the country move forward. According to him, Tinubu's leadership is divinely ordained, and Nigerians should rally behind him for the next 4 years to 8 years to ensure lasting national development. Now let's have our conversation. We still have with us Barrister Vansoveli. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being here. Now, Nigerians have concluded, even if it's not spelled out in capital letters, that the Tinubu's administration is likened to the politics of Mussolini and the economics of Herbert Hoover. Now, how then is it that stakeholders are here asking us to support a government that we know realistically is not doing well for the people, especially for Delta State and oil producing region? Because if you take a look at the laundry list of challenges they have, it's not been solved yet. What do you think is the problem here?
Yeah, I as a person will advocate for, supporting government, encouraging and supporting the government to succeed. But I will only advocate and support a government that is ready to listen to the people, correct mistakes, make adjustments, and strive on the basis of, giving the people the desired promises that was made or were made by the politicians as contained in their manifestos. You understand? This is not a listening government in the first place. So what do you support? I'm not advocating that people should not support the government. People have their prerogative to do whatever they want to do. Okay? The ideal thing I should be saying is that yes, the traditional ruler, the aide to Governor Sheriff Oborowori of Delta State, I should be supporting exactly what he's saying, because that is what a sane, rational, educated person should do. But to which of the government? Is it a government that don't take correction, that is not teachable, that has refused to acknowledge its mistakes and correct them, that is full of wastages, that is full of all the negatives? Is it that same government that we are supposed to support to continue in that line? Because the reason for dissent is to draw their attention to what they are not doing right. Drawing their attention to what they are not doing right, for me, is support. Because if they listen and reconsider policies, they will be able to make adjustments, and that will mean support for me. Okay, but you don't just ask me or youths, everybody, to just keep supporting whether they are doing the right thing, they are doing the wrong thing. We should just be supporting them. We just keep supporting them. They will renovate houses with billions. They will buy private jets, waste money, have a supplementary budget, buy a car for the president's wife, keep on profligacy. Then what we are supposed to do as citizens is to keep supporting them. I don't think that is the right thing to do or to say. I don't think so. We should support government, right, correct. But we should be critical. We should call them to question when we find that what their projections and their policies are not in tandem with democracy. does not promote the ideas of, the human agency. If it does not, then we'll criticize them. That's it. So for me, we're not all going to be supporting the government blindly.
So while we agree we might not support the government blindly, relentlessly we have been told to, for some time, neglect the center and maybe concentrate on the subnational, which is the state. Now let's take a look at Delta State as a reference point. Now, according to the data that we have here, the challenges of rural development, that is in Delta State, range from inadequate funds, proliferation of development programs to few areas, lack of political will and commitment, policy instability, corruption, mismanagement of resources, an absence of social amenities that limit rural development in Delta State. Now, don't you think it's okay for us to maybe capitalize our efforts on subnationals? Because if we get our subnationals right, then center might really not be a big deal.
Perhaps that is what he should be talking about. Instead of leaving the region and asking us to go and support, which we have not declined, but we're saying that rural development is very stiff in Delta State. I'm from Delta State.
Stiff. When you say stiff, what does that mean?
Stiff means there is little or no rural development. Roads connecting communities are non-existent. Major roads that should connect communities are not okay. The current governor is trying because, he's been able to put up some signs of progress. Okay, there's been a long neglect, even though they say Okowa is a master of road. He was a master of road in his first term. His second term, he didn't do nothing. In my community, we have a 9-kilometer road that was awarded in his administration. As I speak to you, they only did the drainage halfway, destroyed the road in my own community and to the next community and to the other one. They messed the place up and the contractor abandoned the project. Farmers can no longer access their farms. Children can no longer get good transportation to their schools. The viability and the market women cannot access the markets. And when it rains, it messes up the entire place that people are trapped in their homes. This was a road that was motorable before they came to destroy it. It was manageable and motorable. But today, it's not manageable, it's no longer motorable.
So who should we hold responsible, especially with this case you just mentioned here? Because there should be reasons why that was abandoned.
Yes.
There has to be a research to understand what exactly happened.
I have been on the contractor. I have called on the local government chairman to provide, because it's his responsibility to provide explanation as to why progress have not been made on the road. And I've also called on the governor. That was the advocacy which I sent to the governor direct to his phone. Okay, which has been viewed and he has seen it. So it is now for because he may not know. That's why I did that. Okay. And then mention the local government chairman, because he is going to make a call to those representing that area, the local government chairman and others. So that's why I sent it directly to him. Okay, I've done advocacies like that in the past where he responded swiftly. So I'm believing that this one, that he will respond, because that road is, once that road is fixed, he will have lifted the lives of people, because all the activities on that road, all the activities is tied to very serious human cost in that axis. So it is important and critical that that road is done. Now, there is generally in Delta State huge inefficiency in rural development. From one community to the other, you will see a lot, you will see bush, you see so many things that are discouraging. So I expected the aide to the governor to talk about urban rural development, okay, in Delta State, than to ask us to. It's good, we are supposed to support the president, yes, but not at the expense of our own lives.
Yes, because it's very, very important that we are narrowing this discussion to Delta State because, of course, the report that we have is coming from stakeholders in that particular state. According to February 2025, the Delta IGR hits 157 billion. And one would wonder, this is outside of fact allocation, which I would love to believe has time to be corrected. It's stated that Delta State received the highest because it's an oil producing state. Yes, exactly. But when you compare, so when you compare it to neighboring states like Akwa Ibom State, the difference is clear. With respect to the environment, Akwa Ibom is up here. Respect to infrastructure, Akwa Ibom is up here. Respect to lots of things. So what exactly is the problem with the Delta State leadership structure? Can we blame that on the transition to people that are not good enough to handle situation, or maybe the system, just like we've said in our newspaper, is screwed, such that it's not easy for leaders to do what they should do?
It's corruption. There is corruption in the Delta State government, especially as it relates to COURT, who wanted to be a vice president, took loan, a lot of money to fund the Atiku Okowa's campaign for the 2020 general election that failed.
Is that documented? Because this is national. This is it's a national television, and it's very important that we engage facts here.
Evidence.
Okay.
I have evidence. Okay, of that, and I said it then. I did advocacies then, and I have documents to back up what I'm saying. They took loan. Okay, and the loan that he took was approved by this same governor when he was a speaker.
I don't know. Do you have a figure?
I have evidence. If you want to put me under investigation, I will bring them.
Because we wouldn't want them to come for us.
I know. Well,
because some of these things are very sensitive matters.
It's me that is saying. It's me that is saying it. It's me that is saying it. And even in Delta State, it's just that people know about it, but they will not talk because they are afraid. I'm the one that can say that kind of a thing. And if they want to dig it further, let them dig it further, and I'll bring out everything I have, including documents that was meant for their SEC meetings and all. I have them. You understand? So they will not, when I come out to speak on my advocacy on it, they cannot shoot down or deflate my facts and evidence. That is what happened. He took that loan. When this current governor came into office, there was virtually nothing in the treasury to work with. You know, that was why it delayed. It took some time before he started picking up projects. He needs to acclimatize, he needs to get loan, he needs to get IGRs to come up, he needs to get FAC in, allocation and all that. Before, it took a while. If you notice, it took a while. So that's exactly what the issues are. Because of personal ambition, we ran into serious debt in the States. And serious funds were thrown around for all those personal issues. And that's exactly what happened. So it hampered growth, urban-rural development, even in the educational affairs and some other areas. Major projects. You also have a lot of projects that were abandoned. You know, some which the government had paid, some which the government had not paid. So in the case of my community, we are still investigating exactly what happened, whether government paid the contractor at the stage before he abandoned it, or whether, so that we can reclaim. And we have also called on the current government to review the contract, okay, to ensure that that road is done.
So very, very important that we state, you know, some of these things because of it's very, very key. Delta State is very peculiar in this particular case because we've seen a little bit of a shift. You know, it's a PDP state, but it seemed to us that it is more, you know, panning towards the APC in the ways that we see the things that they do. Apart from the chieftain who talked about Ayari Emami has been a very, you know, dogged person, you know, with the APC and doing everything possible to ensure that the Delta State equally, the senator representing your community. Yes, has equally done the same thing.
There are rumors that there are very big wigs that are going to leave PDP to the APC. Very big, that will shock you, you know. But there are rumors, so we can't deal with it. But there are a lot has happened in that state. PDP is losing it in the state because so much has happened.
Is it losing it because they've not been able to put their act together, or is it because they've not been able to instill such human development that people can resonate and say, this is the party that's done it for us?
The crisis from the National Working Committee down to the respective states is enormous. And they are an opposition, okay? So when lawmakers are now leaving to the PDP, you know, they form the backbone. When lawmakers are leaving, you know, and governors are contemplating leaving, and chieftains of the PDP, they are making moves, you know, one way or the other. It tells you that the center can no longer hold. So it's going to take PDP, if a PDP takes Delta in the next election, it will be a truculent task, because by then a handful of those in PDP would have moved to APC.
Very, very true. But let's take a look at the issue as the aid to the governor, and equally the chieftain has talked about support for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which of course you had said there's need for us to support the government only if the government is doing what they ought to do as those in government. But let's maybe, you know, take it from a larger scale here. If do you see the hand of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration favoring Delta State in any way, maybe with respect to, you know, resources that should go to them, which is still not going to them yet, and all the things that you think that should come to Delta State that is not yet coming?
The resources that should come to Delta State from the federal government, it goes to the Delta State. The IGR goes to Delta State. The funds that have not come to Delta State were the funds that the federal government seized, which were funds that were siphoned by Ibori and was seized by United Kingdom government, which was released sometimes in 2022, that we went to court to reclaim. And because Delta State is sub-sovereign, issues of international affairs, it is the sovereign that deals with it. So when the UK government handed back the money, they handed it back to the federal government. Now, instead of the federal government to give it, just like they did in the case of Bayelsa, when the money that Alamesia took was handed over to federal government gave it back to the Bayelsa State as the original owner of that money. In our case, they gave it to the federal government. And instead of the federal government to hand it over to the Delta State government, they now deploy it for the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. That's what it is to complete this Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The Abuja-Kaduna, Kano-Kaduna Expressway. And one other road again, I can't remember. That is the money they are still owing the federal the state. When we were in court then, the Delta State government under Okowa, they were only pleading, asking that the money be. They didn't act the way they should. If it were to be Wike would have raised dust and ensured that money comes. But in our own case, our governor did not fight as much as he should. When we were in court, they did not support us. But when we were in court against the roads they were developing then, and they were not developing roads in Ndokwa, when they expanded and rehabilitated many roads and none was in Ndokwa, when they built 3 universities and none was in Ndokwa, and so many projects, then we went to court. I went to court to ask the court to compel them to extend development to Delta State, or they should allow to extend development to Ndokwa, or in the alternative, the federal government should give us Ndokwa State, so that we know that we're not in this thing, because it's the only area that have the highest, we are the second largest in the production of oil, and we are the second largest in population. Ndokwa. But when critical projects are still in the state, they take this project to areas where they have no drop of oil. They take it to Eka or where the former governor came from, Okoa. They take it to every other area that are not oil producing. So it was not went to court on that they filed a case against a counter affidavit against that idea. But when we also went to court to ask the federal government to be, they did not support it. So it's been like that. It's been
yes. Because I actually did some detailing on that particular matter, and I'd love to ask on the fraternity just before we leave today. The fraternity, between the tribes in Delta State, the Anyomas, the Ijos, the Shekiris, and all others there, because that was why I juxtaposed the state with Akwa Ibom State, just to see, what could be the reason for the low pace of development, like you've stated, that hardly goes to a particular place and so on and so forth. So do you think that razor sharp division of ethnic divide could be the reason why you don't see a uniform sort of development in the state?
No, it's not the reason. It's corruption. You see, this thing you are talking about, as surprised as you are, that was what led to the formation of the NDDC. You remember?
Yes.
NDDC and a ministry where we are now, it's meant for, there's a board where you now have people from different extraction heading the board to ensure that development comes to that area. Not just NDDC. In each of the states, again, in Niger Delta, you have, like in Delta State, you have the SOPADEC. Okay? That's supposed to be the state-owned version of NDDC, with huge responsibility. In fact, the money that comes from FARC, the SOPADEC Act 2007, okay, specified that 50% of the federal allocation from FARC should be deployed to the SOPADEC for oil-bearing communities. You understand? Now, that one, oil-bearing communities are supposed to share it among themselves and create even development at a grassroots level. But that's when the SOPADEC is full of corruption. So it's not just about the tribe, but it's also about when the money has also entered the tribe. The money gets missing in transit, and it does not in any way also improve the projects. You come and see for NDDC projects, then I counted then a lot of abandoned projects. So many for NDDC. Then for the SOPADEC itself, we have so many abandoned projects. And we have also fictitious projects and deceitful projects where they go and paint mud houses and plaster it and just do something and say they have spent billions. So corruption is not the tribal difference. The money is still on record that it gets to the ministry responsible. So it couldn't have been tribe that have embezzled it. So it's the human element that is making sure that what is meant for the state does not even go into the development. That's how the federal government is confused, even with its own ministry there, which Akpabio headed at some point.
Exactly.
And during the probe, you saw how the person who is supposed to be, how he fainted. You understand? This is what they do when they have embezzled money. They don't know what to say again, they'll faint. So that is the corruption that is going on there,
Very, very true. Because, so much so in Nigeria, with lots of issues, lots of talking points, Nigerians are gnashing their teeth and crying out for help. But of course, we cannot just blame it on the center alone. There's so little the president can do, as much as we want him to do more, but the subnationals can equally, come and step in the divide, step in that particular gap and ensure that the communities are given what they should get. Hospitals in rural places are there, roads that would help farmers connect their farm produce to the next city is there. All of these things would not be done by the center, but by subnational and intentional leadership is what it takes to make that happen. We pray for the Delta State government under Sheriff Oborowori, and equally hope that the city, of course, would reclaim its status as one city that should compete with other cities in sub-Africa. That's basically what we hope. Thank you so very much, President Bola,
It's my pleasure.
for being here. All right, people, that's just the time we have for today. We'd love to say thank you to you for being here. We truly do appreciate your time. Please do well to visit us if you may. You can always find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. I am Henry Igwebike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.